RotoRob here with former NBA champion Metta World Peace, previously known as Ron Artest, one of the best defenders in league history. He's here to talk to us today about an exciting new app for basketball lovers and perhaps regale us with some memories of his playing career. Welcome, Metta, and thanks for taking time to talk with us today.
Oh, thank you. How's everything going?
Everything's great. How about yourself?
Everything is really good. Just having a good day here in California, Los Angeles, and just relaxing a little bit. How's your day going?
Not too bad. Just busy at work and obviously a lot cooler than wherever you are in LA. We're up here in Toronto, but winter's finally hit us, and yeah, it's all great. But I'm really excited to talk about this new app you have, XvsX Sports, which I understand allows both men and women basketball players the chance to discover, connect, and play in live, locally hosted pickup games, scrimmages, tryouts, and even showcase games, all sort of based on their skill levels. And the app's going to be available starting tomorrow, January 29th, in the app and Android stores. So tell us, Metta, how this app came to be.
Well, the app came to be with just, the love of sports, the competitive nature. A lot of times when people here, especially in the United States, don't really have the opportunity to pursue competitive sports. Making it, to the NBA is really difficult. I often tell people, you're 1 inch away from making millions of dollars in the NBA or to not. And some people are very talented but just don't get the opportunities. And then you also have some regular recreational players who love to play and want to play against really good competition, but not necessarily trying to get to the NBA.
I see.
So it's important that we connect those two groups, along with gyms and people that love to host games.
Yeah, I think
with that happening, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was just gonna say, was this your idea?
Yeah, I'm the founder of the company. It was my idea, and initially I wanted to start this app because I was trying to do 20 years professional in the NBA, and I thought that I deserved it. But, I was also 18 years in, so I understand why I wasn't able to complete it. But, Coach Luke Walton, my friend, he used to have a board in practice, and he kept track of every single win. Now, at the end of the season, I was amongst the leaders along with Lou Williams and Tars Black, actually. So I was still competitive. My last game at Stapleton, I had 18 points in the second half. And I wanted to continue to play, but, I was more of a mentor to the young guys like D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, Nick Young, Julius Randle, and a lot of other guys. So what I told myself was I'm just going to go travel the world and play basketball, and the easiest way to do it would have been with an application. So I started this process, I would say, about 2016. Actually, before that, but I officially went, I deep dived into it 2015. And, I just wanted to travel the world and play basketball. But now I said, you know what? Rather than just make an app for myself, how about I give everyone the opportunity to travel and play basketball at your skill level?
Yeah, it's very cool. You talked earlier about sort of giving unrecognized or overlooked players the chance to sort of get on the radar of agents, coaches, and scouts. What I'm curious about, your opinion, Metta, how many players do you think are out there that are slipping through the cracks? Say, for every kid that gets recruited to a Division I college basketball program, how many do you think are good enough to play but just aren't getting that shot?
There's a lot of different things. So we did a lot of research on this before we launched. And it's a very small percentage of kids that are in high school, top of the class, and then when they get to, senior year, the amount of scholarships that's being offered becomes, very scarce. And then, the percentage to get to the NBA from college is a percent or even lower than that. Now you got so much competition from overseas.
Right.
So it's not necessarily the skill level. It's just not enough room. We only have 30 teams in the NBA. Everybody can't make it. But as we know, the American consumer, they love sports. So if we can get enough people, that second group of people, which is millions of people to still compete for some elite spots, you can create a minor league, semi-pro, type of, leagues or organic leagues in America. And right now we have the G League, we have the NCAA.
Yeah, I was just going to ask,
those,
how that would compete with the G leagues.
Well, I don't necessarily. I'm not trying to compete. I'm just trying to actually join the party. Right? It's like join the party and give athletes another opportunity. Not every athlete knows how to approach agents.
Mm-hmm.
Not every athlete has agents. Right? And with that being said, it's really difficult to if you don't have the necessary connections. Agents or teams won't even see you unless you're playing on the big stage, the NCAA, the G League, maybe overseas, Division I, Division II.
Right.
But if that's not the case, you could be really talented and you won't have an opportunity. So that's why I like to mix in really elite players with recreational players so you can stay sharp.
Mm-hmm.
You might be working at Starbucks. You might work at Target. And if you're doing that, you're not playing, so you're not in the shape you need to be in. So that's why recreational players are extremely important for the success, of this app and for the success of a lot of the elite players. They really need the recreational players to be available to play basketball. And it's great for the recreational players because it's just like going to Equinox. You're getting really good cardio. You're getting in shape. You're playing basketball, right? So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, well, what you were talking about before about, getting through high school to get to college and how few spots there are, sort of reminded me of the movie Hoop Dreams, how they talked about that, about how tough it is to take that next step, and you really got to want it and get that shot. So I find that fascinating, but one of the aspects of what you're trying to do here, and you alluded to it earlier, is create this semi-pro XvsX Sports League to help showcase the most promising players. And tell me about that. So, what's the deets there, and when's that going to launch?
So tomorrow we have our XvsX Sports game. The app generates lots of games. Even through COVID, we did maybe 500 games, and it was really difficult because we had to get testing and all the stuff. But people sometimes think of the app as a league, and that's a fair statement because it really is because we have leaderboards.
Mm-hmm.
So with those leaderboards, it's almost like you're always in the playoffs. Now, one of the cool things that's been happening with the app, these influencers, they've been coming and showing up to the game. So Rome Flynn, 1 million followers on Instagram. Marquise Trill, 9 million followers on Instagram. The Professor, 4 million YouTube subscribers, 4 million Instagram followers. Bone Collector, 1 million, 2 million Instagram followers. So these influencers, they've been coming out. So what is that doing for the player that's trying to make it? It's bringing exposure.
Oh, yeah.
Right, to this player. And what is that doing for a guy like me? Well, I'm 40 years old, and I just want to stay in shape and play against good competition. I'm not necessarily trying to make it to the NBA. But what is that doing for a player that's never been seen before, right? It's taking that player to another level. So we have these games where it's a win-win for everyone, and it brings a lot of exposure. So hopefully we can get some of our players to the NBA. Hopefully we can get some of our players to college. We have some success stories. There's a guy named Amar Ross. He was at USC for 2 years. He's about 5'3", and said he's going to make that team. Finally, his junior year, he made that team. Well, he was a guy that came through our program. He was playing basketball with a lot of the elite players, and he thanked us, actually, when he made the team. And now he's on the team as a walk-on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? He says he wants to make the NBA. And we have so many great stories like that.
Yeah, and I mean, if nothing else, even these players that maybe aren't quite good enough, they get a chance to play with some ex-players. Like, I understand you got Baron Davis, Larry Sanders, Chris Copeland, Mamadou Inje is going to be playing. Like, you got some players that have been there, and that would be just a thrill to rub elbows with them on the court, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a thrill to rub elbows with them. Because when you think about it, if you're going up against Mamadou, who's 7'7" from UCI, I mean, that's going to really help you. That's going to help you become a better player.
Oh yeah,
right. And exactly. It'll help you become a better player. And this type of thing, this has been happening, for quite some time. In terms of players actually coming out and supporting. And it's really good for a recreational player. Now, sometimes these recreational players say, I want to play in the semi-program. And I'm just like, we have other levels for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't play in all the elite games because sometimes the pros want to play against just really good players. So sometimes we fall into that. We have a little issues there. But for the most part, everyone's having a good time. Everyone's really respectful of the app and the games. I mean, if you are getting out of hand and flagrant fouling or doing anything too much, then we'll just block you on the app. We expect people. We're trying to build a fun environment for people, and that's how it's been.
Cool. And I was reading that the app is going to have user-generated content, posts from renowned sports pros, fitness gurus, elite trainers. It really sounds like the opportunity to make connections based on common interests. It sounds like the ultimate social media platform for people that love to play the game. Is that fair?
Is very fair. One of the cool things is you have a feed, you have a profile, you can post content. You can also create your own teams on this application, and you can receive donations for your team, which is really cool because just imagine if let's say you're from Chicago or you're from Alabama or Seattle, and you just want to give back to your old youth or your old youth league team.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually go into the app and donate $5. Now just imagine if that happens 100 times or 10 times or $100, 20 times or whatever the case may be. Now you just supporting this team. They can get league registration fees.
Mm-hmm.
They can travel, Greyhound bus, flights, water, apples, bananas for the players. It's a really great gesture. So on this application, we made it where you can donate to these teams. You could also create your own team if you wanted. And we wanted to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to compete, and not just in your one little area. Maybe you want to go from Chicago to Indiana. Well, how are you going to get there?
Mm-hmm.
On the application, if you post content and market yourself, you'll have an opportunity to get the support of the audience that's going to be on the platform watching and rooting for you.
So this is really like supporting the world, I don't know about worldwide, but certainly the community of basketball as a whole across the country.
Absolutely. We want it to be one of the biggest basketball communities. As a basketball player, anyone that plays basketball can probably attest to this. Some people would literally miss out on a job opportunity to play basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many basketball players with degrees that are not even utilizing the degrees. Now, that's because the game is so much fun. And with the game being so much fun, you lose yourself in the game. So one of the things I wanted to create within the app was a way for athletes to stay visible. Just so whenever they need opportunities, to do something else other than play basketball, there'll be people inside the community that you could engage with. Maybe you want to get a job somewhere, doing something. Who knows what it may be.
Well, I mean,
but if you just play, yes.
I was just going to say, ultimately, maybe part of the app will be job opportunities within the game.
Well, there is it is job opportunities within the game actually currently right now. So you can actually donate to someone's account. So let's just say if we had a game and we invited a photographer and you like what they did, you could actually donate $1, $5. You can tip them right through the app. So it is, now we don't have it where you can actually discover or find job opportunities, but right now, organically, you could actually create opportunities for yourself to receive donations individually or as a team.
That's great. And you have some future plans for the app I was reading as well. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
But, so building an app is definitely difficult because you actually have to build tangible assets. It's more than the technology. So, phase one is building a community. And if it goes well, we want to do some really exciting things for the users, things that only a pro would experience. But with technology, we think we could bring a lot of these experiences to the elite users. One of the things would be if you're one of the top 100, you'll be able to generate more revenue from the in-app games that we are currently wireframing now if this first phase goes well. So there's a lot of things we want to do. We want to make it a really good experience, for the users. And I'm just so lucky and grateful to be able to be back in basketball.
That's awesome.
Doing something I love.
Well, we don't have 9 million followers, Metta, but I'll do my best to get this out. Absolutely. It's a really, really cool thing. I just want to ask you a couple other questions, a little bit about some other topics. Now, for my readers, what I'm curious about is, do you play fantasy sports at all?
I don't play fantasy, but I'm definitely into. I enjoy hearing about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you obviously know how big it is, and you've obviously heard it's just, it's become a multi-billion-dollar industry over the last few years, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty massive.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this. If you were the GM of a fantasy basketball team, who would be the number one guy you would take in a keeper league? So this is a league, your team you're building from scratch. Who's the number one player you take in today's game?
I'm taking LeBron James.
Really? At his age?
Yeah, I'm taking LeBron James.
Well, I mean,
definitely.
You gotta love LeBron, but I mean, how long can he go, right? At this level, he's amazing. He's just amazing, but
he's just so talented. He's just an amazing player. I mean, he's doing things at this age that we would never have expected, and it's just really, really impressive.
Well, I mean, look at him. He's still a beast. He's just in such great shape.
Yeah, he is. He is. And he's taking care of his body, and it shows that if you take care of your body, you can last a long time.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Yeah. And so when you were growing up and playing the game, who did you model your game after?
I tried to model that after Jordan. I mean, you try to reach for the stars, Obviously, it's kind of hard. He's different athletically with a different skill set. But, I mean, watching Jordan a lot, it's like, wow, I want to be like that. But then you watch other players like, Dennis Rodman, Gary Payton, the defense that they play, is very, very inspiring. So a lot of guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, I mean, everybody's doing something so amazing at one point in time when you're a kid. You're like, oh, wow, I want to be like Hakeem. Man, I want to be like Patrick Ewing.
I want to be like Jordan. I want to be like Mike. Be like Mike. Looking back in your career then, Metta, what do you think is the proudest accomplishment for you personally?
My biggest accomplishment was the Defensive Player of the Year. My biggest accomplishment, if I could put it in order, I'll try my best, but I would say the Defensive Player of the Year. Then I would say 13 All-NBA. Then I would say the big shot that I hit in the finals, even more than the championship. Just the shot that I hit was big. Then I would say the actual championship. Then I would just let it work down to the couple first-team all-defenses, and my citizenship award, my NBA citizenship award, which I worked really hard for. It was really difficult. If I would have had a better career, if I didn't get suspended the year that I did, that would have been another All-Star, another All-Team NBA, possibly MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. That year I was having a tremendous year. Then possible another all-defensive team. And then the year I came back with the Pacers, I got traded mid-season to the West. So I probably would have been another All-Star that year, with a couple more awards. But that year was really difficult for me because when I got back after the brawl, I mean, I gained a ton of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Pacers suspended me indefinitely before I went to the Sacramento Kings, I got up all the way to 273. I was really depressed. And even prior to the brawl, a month before the brawl, I was contemplating retirement. I actually called the league office to put in my retirement papers at 23 years old.
Wow. Well, yeah, back in the day, I had you on a couple of my fantasy basketball teams, definitely. I love that across-the-board production you used to deliver there. That was gold for fantasy purposes. Now, what about the flip side? What would you say is the biggest disappointment from your career?
I would say the biggest disappointment would be, I think it's a lot.
Well, I mean, what comes to mind
I
right
would
off the top of your head there, like
say
the thing you'd like to go back and change?
Well, one being leading probably the NBA in fines. That's really disappointing because you miss a lot of games. So lots of suspensions. So the suspensions are a big disappointment because I didn't have enough willpower and focus to keep my head in the game, even as good as I was.
Do you think you would have been the same player without that intensity?
Yeah, absolutely. When you have focus and objectives and goals, that's the only thing that matters. It's not really your intensity. It's all about your goals and your objectives. And I had the goals and objectives, but then I was always a little bit, I always added too much extra things that had nothing to do with the game.
Right.
I probably would have been a way better player, to tell you the truth.
Huh. Yeah, because I find that in some cases athletes are just driven by that fire and take that away, and they're just not the same player anymore. So it's kind of like that balancing act there, that they're on.
Yeah, I think you got a point.
It's not the same for everyone, of course.
Yeah, it's not the same for everyone, but it's all about finding that balance.
Yeah. It's what drives you, right? Like, where do you find your motivation? And maybe sometimes it's out of anger, sometimes it's out of love of the game, sometimes it's, just a need to prove yourself incessantly. Who knows? Now, looking back, you obviously played on several different teams, but I wanted to ask you, Metta, who would you say the best teammate you ever had is? And I'm not talking about the best player, but the kind of guy who would go through the wall for you as a team, like the best took you under his wing or whatever, just you would go to battle for this guy because he was just such a great teammate.
I mean, all my teammates every one of my teammates went to battle for me.
Yeah.
So I would go to battle for each one of them because when you think about my career and I was so unstable and they saw that it was always an issue and I was always having problems a lot. And my teammates identified that, and I had support from everyone from Mike Bibby. Hey, Metta, how you doing? Ron, how you doing? Brad Miller, Jermaine O'Neal, Dickie Simpkins, Greg Anthony. I was Tony Kukoc. Even rookie year I was going through things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And all these players always there to pat me on the back. Charles Oakley, Jamal Tinsley. Every time they there to pat me on the back.
Anyone stand out as someone who really kind of helped you out?
All of them.
Yeah, okay.
It stands out because I was going through things a lot. When I got to the Rockets, when I got to the Kings, Rick Adelman really helped me a lot with his demeanor. I really attribute a lot of my love, my real love for the game to Rick Adelman. I mean, he really, he really helped me love the game again. He really did. I really enjoy Rick Adelman a ton.
Okay. Who's the most talented player you ever played with?
The most talented player, definitely Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And then I would say probably the next one would probably have been Jonathan Bender.
Really?
Jonathan Bender was Durant before Durant.
Yeah, I certainly remember him. I mean, absolutely, but he never quite panned out the way it was expected, did he?
He had really bad knees.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at Jonathan Bender and Kevin Durant, I mean, they're literally identical. Literally identical.
Just one stayed healthy and one didn't, eh?
One stayed healthy and one didn't, but very, very identical. Yeah.
That's quite a shame that we never really got to see that play out because
I've seen it every day in practice, and he was very tough.
Wow.
He was very tough.
Well, speaking of tough, who was the toughest opponent you ever faced? That person that's like, I gotta guard this guy tonight. Oh man, he's tough. Who was
never like that, but I think Kobe and LeBron was always like, oh boy, because it's just like no matter how hard I played, those guys still play well, and I really didn't like that. They ate me up inside.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're gonna get their points no matter what. It's just, I guess, a matter of limiting them. I guess if you can hold them to 25, you've done a good job. Now, looking at today's game, Metta, which player today in the NBA reminds you most of yourself?
I would say Kawhi.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna say it reminds me. I would say it reminds me of myself, but Kawhi is the one player I wish that I could rewind time. I wish that I could have kind of learned under a guy like that
Hmm.
because I really love how he plays. He's ideal how I would like to play.
Yeah, and again, across the board production from a guy like that. Does everything, eh? Offense, defense, rebounds, steals, blocks, three-pointers, you name it.
Yeah.
All right, going to put you on the spot here and ask you who is going to win the NBA championship this season.
The Lakers.
That
And
was
I don't mean to
easy.
disrespect anybody. Yeah. I mean, they're gonna probably win. I don't mean to disrespect any teams. I just think that I'm always gonna say the Lakers. By the way, and I do want to see every team I played for win the championship, starting with the Knicks and the Pacers. But with that being said, the Lakers are just tough. They look and they're in cohesion.
Yeah.
They have that synergy, which a lot of new teams, it takes a year or two to get that synergy, and the Lakers already have it. So unless you can get synergy within, a couple months, I don't see it happening for anyone.
They did an amazing job retooling in about 2 years, and I gotta say, one more ring for LeBron, and we can finally put this stupid Jordan versus LeBron argument to rest. I think. What do you think?
It's just we got to wait till LeBron retires, and
Yeah.
then you can measure. Because I want to measure. I'm going to look at the documentary whenever he retires. Cause I want to see who's the best. But right now, it's hard to say. If Jordan retired when his dad died, right? When Jordan retired, he three-peated.
Yeah.
He retired when his dad died because he was very hurt.
Hmm.
Came back 2 years later and three-peated.
Wasn't it like Yeah, no, I mean it was that was just mind blowing. Just mind blowing, And then he retired and came back 4 years later, right?
And averaged 25.
Yeah, and he still averaged almost 20 points a game.
2 years later.
No, I know he was
Twice.
he was crazy that way. It's
Came
just
back and played well.
it's a really tough discussion. Okay, that's about all I'd say, Metta. What's next for you after this app now?
Well, I've been doing a lot of great things over my career, just staying focused, and I've been trying to take advantage of my love for education, and I've been trying to breathe out all my frustration or any baggage I had. My first major in college was architecture, right? And it's hard to complete an architecture degree or major in math when you're so depressed, right? Or so frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
or have so much anxiety. So, after my career, I decided to really focus on things that I really love, and that's how, this led me to, not really pursuing coaching as of right now, just pursuing, digital marketing, business analytics, digital analytics. I went back to school, went back to UCLA for a couple classes, went back to also Concordia, Irvine. I was actually in two schools at one time. I did some Google Analytics classes, and now I'm learning so much on the tech side from AWS, navigating through AWS, navigating through GitHub, working with Firebase Analytics, a lot of Google products, working through a lot of different email products, and working directly with developers, and we have in-house sponsorship now. We have a sponsorship from Boost Mobile with XvsX Sports, which is not easy to do when you're running a company. In-house partnerships and different things like that. Actually have in-house marketing and in-house digital marketing, which is really cool. And, I'm just really excited that I'm able to use education and not give up on education, not give up on education and actually compete. And although, you retire at 38, you can re-educate yourself.
Yeah.
And you can learn things that you never would have thought was possible. They often say, when you're young, you're a sponge, but you could be a sponge when you get older also.
Absolutely.
And I'm really happy that, I'm re-educating myself and, re-humbled myself and entering into a different industry where I had to come in once again as an underdog. And I'm really excited. In-house investor relations. A lot of people was like, Metta, you never did a company. We're not, giving you any money. and it was difficult because I felt, like people should have gambled on me a little bit, but then they have. LA Times invested in the company. Chairman of Wicks invested in our company. A couple other tech people that I can go down the line, and it's been a process. It's been, to say the least, it's been a process.
Well, that's great, though. Good for you, like going back to school, and you're really giving something back to the game here, which has been
giving something back to the game. Absolutely, and you want to know something? That's exactly what it is. Giving something right back to the game, and it's different. It's different than coaching. It's from a different angle, but definitely giving it back to the game. I'm so grateful to be on your show and to be able to talk about what I'm doing. And thank you for anyone out there that want to support. I really appreciate it. Everybody have every reason in the world not to support me, but people that do, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.